Technology has become an essential part of modern life. From smartphones and laptops to televisions, gaming systems, tablets, and smart home devices, electronics surround us every day. These innovations improve communication, productivity, healthcare, and convenience in ways that were once unimaginable. But behind the convenience of modern technology lies a growing environmental challenge that many people rarely see. Electronic waste, or e-waste, is growing at an alarming pace around the world. And when electronics are discarded improperly, they can release dangerous substances into the environment. Among the most serious and often overlooked consequences is contamination of drinking water supplies by toxic heavy metals. What begins as an old computer, broken television, or discarded phone can eventually contribute to long-term pollution affecting ecosystems, communities, and human health. Welcome to Heavy Metals from E-Waste in Drinking Water Supplies. To understand the risks posed by heavy metals, we first need to understand the growing e-waste problem itself. Technology continues evolving rapidly. Consumers upgrade devices more frequently than ever before. A smartphone that once lasted years may now be replaced after only a short time. Computers become outdated. Televisions improve. New technology enters the market faster than older devices can be responsibly managed. As a result, electronic waste has become one of the fastest-growing waste streams globally. Millions of tons of electronics are discarded every year. Unfortunately, not all electronics are recycled responsibly. Some are stored indefinitely. Others end up in landfills. Many are exported to regions lacking proper waste infrastructure. When electronics are not properly processed, harmful materials hidden inside devices can eventually escape into surrounding environments. And one of the most serious risks involves contamination of water systems people depend on every single day. Inside many electronics are substances known as heavy metals. Heavy metals are dense elements that can become highly toxic when released into the environment, even in small amounts. Some heavy metals have important industrial uses and help electronic devices function properly. However, when improperly managed, they become dangerous pollutants. Several hazardous heavy metals are commonly found in electronics. Lead may be present in solder, older cathode ray tube displays, and internal electronic components. Mercury is often found in flat-screen displays and fluorescent lighting systems. Cadmium may appear in batteries and semiconductors. Arsenic can sometimes be found in microchips and other electronic materials. What makes these substances especially concerning is that they do not easily degrade or disappear. Once introduced into the environment, heavy metals can remain for years or even decades. Over time, they accumulate inside ecosystems, animals, and human bodies, creating serious long-term risks. So how exactly do heavy metals from electronics end up contaminating drinking water? The answer often begins with improper disposal. When electronics are dumped into landfills or unmanaged waste sites, devices slowly begin breaking down. As components deteriorate, toxic substances may leak into surrounding soil. Eventually, these contaminants seep downward and enter underground groundwater systems. Rainwater can worsen the problem. Stormwater runoff carries pollutants into nearby rivers, lakes, streams, and reservoirs. Over time, contamination spreads through interconnected water systems. Improper recycling practices also contribute significantly. In some regions, electronics are dismantled using unsafe methods. Open-air burning, acid baths, and manual dismantling release dangerous pollutants into the surrounding environment. Without proper containment systems, heavy metals enter ecosystems and eventually make their way into drinking water supplies. And once contamination reaches underground aquifers or public water systems, removal becomes extremely difficult and expensive. Heavy metal contamination creates serious risks to public health. Unlike bacterial contamination, which may create immediate symptoms, heavy metal poisoning often develops slowly over time. This delayed impact makes detection far more difficult. Even small amounts can impair brain development, reduce learning ability, and contribute to behavioral challenges. Adults exposed to lead may face kidney damage, high blood pressure, and reproductive complications. Mercury presents another major concern. Long-term exposure can affect the nervous system, leading to tremors, memory loss, coordination problems, and developmental issues. Pregnant women and developing fetuses face particularly elevated risks. Cadmium exposure has been associated with kidney disease, weakened bones, and increased cancer risks. Arsenic, another dangerous substance, is considered a known carcinogen and has been linked to bladder cancer, lung disease, skin lesions, and cardiovascular problems. The danger of heavy metals lies not only in their toxicity, but also in how quietly they accumulate over time. One of the most frightening aspects of heavy metal contamination is that people often do not realize exposure is happening. Contaminated drinking water may look perfectly clear. It may smell normal. It may even taste safe. But hidden contaminants can remain undetected for years. Unlike illnesses caused by bacteria or viruses, heavy metal poisoning often develops gradually. Symptoms may not appear immediately. Health problems may take months or even decades to fully emerge. Meanwhile, toxins continue accumulating inside the body. Repeated exposure slowly increases health risks over time. Children are especially vulnerable. Because their bodies and brains are still developing, toxic exposure can result in lifelong developmental challenges. For many communities, contamination becomes a silent crisis unfolding beneath the surface. This is why prevention is so important. Stopping contamination before it occurs is far more effective than trying to reverse the damage later. Heavy metal contamination from e-waste is not simply a theoretical concern. Real communities around the world are already experiencing the consequences. Places such as Guiyu in China and Agbogblashi in Ghana have become known for informal e-waste processing activities. Studies conducted near these regions have detected dangerous concentrations of lead, mercury, cadmium, and other contaminants in local water supplies. Many communities living near these sites depend on the same contaminated water for drinking, cooking, bathing, and farming. As a result, health problems become increasingly common. Children may experience impaired development. Chronic illnesses increase. Communities struggle with long-term exposure risks. The environmental damage can also extend across generations. Once heavy metals enter water systems, they may remain active in ecosystems for decades. Recovery often becomes difficult, expensive, and time-consuming. The impact of heavy metals reaches far beyond human health. Entire ecosystems may suffer. Fish and aquatic organisms are especially vulnerable to contamination. Heavy metals accumulate inside tissues over time through a process called bioaccumulation. Predators higher in the food chain often experience even greater exposure through biomagnification. This means contamination spreads far beyond the original source. Polluted waterways may experience declining fish populations. Biodiversity loss becomes more common. Water chemistry changes. Habitats become unstable. Agriculture can suffer as well. Contaminated irrigation water may reduce soil fertility and crop productivity. In many cases, the consequences ripple outward through entire food systems. What starts as improperly discarded electronics can eventually affect communities far removed from the original contamination source. Although the problem is serious, meaningful solutions do exist. Governments can strengthen regulations on e-waste disposal and international waste exports. Illegal dumping practices must face stronger enforcement. Investment in safe recycling infrastructure is equally important. Modern facilities equipped with advanced recovery systems can safely extract hazardous materials before contamination occurs. Many consumers do not realize the risks associated with improper electronics disposal. Education campaigns, recycling events, and take-back programs can encourage safer habits. Manufacturers also have opportunities to improve sustainability. Reducing the use of toxic materials and designing electronics for easier recycling can lower long-term environmental risks. Real progress requires shared responsibility. Governments, businesses, recyclers, and consumers. Protecting drinking water begins with responsible electronics management. Every device properly recycled helps reduce the risk of heavy metals entering ecosystems. Responsible recycling prevents hazardous substances from reaching landfills and waterways. At the same time, valuable materials can be safely recovered and reused. Partnering with licensed recyclers helps ensure electronics are handled using environmentally responsible practices. Proper recovery systems help protect communities, ecosystems, and future generations. Consumers also play a critical role. Choosing responsible disposal methods instead of improper dumping can make a significant difference. The future of clean drinking water depends on collective action. Technology will continue advancing, but our commitment to environmental responsibility must advance with it. Together, safer recycling practices can help preserve one of the world's most important resources, clean water. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the risks of heavy metals from e-waste and their impact on drinking water supplies. At EACR Inc., we believe responsible electronics recycling plays a critical role in protecting communities, public health, and environmental sustainability. Together, we can reduce contamination, recover valuable materials safely, and help build a cleaner future. Reach us by phone, email, or visit our website to learn more about responsible electronics recycling solutions. Responsible electronics recycling today helps protect the clean drinking water future generations deserve.